Okay, welcome everyone. I can't believe we're really halfway through the semester already. It's gone very quickly. But as Sundar and Kesha and I were just discussing, the weather and the light is certainly reinforcing that change of seasons. But one thing that's really wonderful about living in the Midwest is although sometimes we can have a harsh winter, we do really understand that cyclical nature of life, how the liveliness, of the things around us start to quiet in the autumn. And then there's this kind of a slumber, and then the reemergence of life in the spring. Hi, Tim, welcome. Oops, he's not connected yet. Okay, welcome, Tim.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, so today I wanted to get a little bit more esoteric in our discussion of meditation. And as I've mentioned before, my path into meditation has been through my yoga path, and I've been a yoga teacher for a very long time. So a lot of the information that I'm going to pass on to you today, comes from yoga teachings. And one thing that I wanted to share with you before we start to talk about the subtle body and the koshas, and I posted the stuff about the gunas in the module last week, but we didn't really discuss gunas, but that will come into play in our discussion today. So I wanted to share this quote from a master yoga teacher named T.S. Little that I have thought was, pretty inspiring. And then preface it with the idea that in yoga and meditation, and in many self-improvement or self-discovery practices, different therapies, mindfulness, etc., there's sometimes a bias towards feelings of joy, equanimity, and peace. And that's really what we're working for, that we want to get rid of pain. But it's important to understand that we all feel suffering, and we will continue to feel suffering throughout our lives. So I'm going to quote from T.S. Little. In feeling our own pain, we touch a place inside of us that is tender, empathetic, and kind. And in so doing, we remember our connection to our greatest good. Allowing ourselves to feel that sense of pain is really very important in cultivating our whole beings. Of course, you felt anguish, outrage, or despair, especially in the light of what's been happening in the United States and in the world. If we override our experiences of suffering by denying it, or by even worse, sublimating it, or if we simply try to get it to pass as quickly as possible, we kind of close a window that offers potential for opening us to our greatest good. When the molecules of feeling, including those negative feelings, can move freely inside of us, there is an actual alchemical shift that occurs. Feeling deeply can help us to move away from a posture of condemnation, defensiveness, and enmity to one that is open, tolerant, and sympathetic. If our practice of meditation, of mindfulness, of yoga is working well, we welcome those difficult feelings. We don't have to enjoy them. It's not a matter of always feeling pleasure, but we do need to welcome difficulties. One of the main goals of these practices is to bring the body and the mind into stillness, to experience the inner world. And sometimes we refer to that as transformation through awareness. Now, transformation through awareness has three components, all of which we've touched upon, but I want to, at this point, just really codify that these are the things that we're working on. First, intention. A willingness to be with all of these feelings of fear, irritation, or desire, without succumbing to the impulse to change them, make them better, or resolve them. The second one is acknowledgement. locating a sensation in the body sometimes, which we call somatic tracking, and witnessing the raw feeling that is associated with it. In meditation, this recognition is called the Sanskrit term vipassana, which translates literally as seeing into. Welcome, Mariam.
Thank you.
The third step is non-reactivity, building a capacity to observe painful emotional states without acting on impulse, witnessing, cultivating what is sometimes called detached observation, being non-judgmental to both the feelings and the causes of those feelings. It doesn't mean that we sit in a state of resignation, but we just understand that these are feelings that are occupying our mind, our bodies at this time. And it is very interesting when you feel these feelings coming up, especially if you're in these states of stillness, to try to see where in your body, where somatically that occurs. Is it in your shoulders? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your hips, your low back? Do you get a headache? And just recognizing that sometimes allows a little bit more space, within the nervous system. So I want to now take a look at the map of the koshas. And hang on. Oh, I'm going to need to share my screen. Here we go. And then find it. That's not the koshas. Okay. I can go back to here. We've got it in, whoops, map of the koshas. Sorry about that. Here we go. Oh, that's not that. That's the document that I was hoping that you would read. But here's a kosha map. Okay, so when we talk about the subtle body, we often are talking about the koshas, which are sometimes called sheaths of awareness. Okay, and again, this is a Sanskrit term, but the koshas are recognized in other ways of thinking about the self. Okay, so there are these koshas, starting from, I always start from the the interior kosha, the Annamaya kosha, which is the physical body, sometimes called the food body. This encompasses all of the muscles, the bones, the tendons, and the ligaments. This is the body that you see and that you feel. The second is the Pranamaya kosha, the energy body, the breath body, the life force body. The life energy that governs your biological processes, from breathing to digestion to the circulation of your blood. In Chinese medicine, it's called the qi, and in yoga, it's called prana. The ancient Egyptians called it the ka. So again, this is kind of a universal sensibility that the self is made up of these multiple layers. When the pranamaya kosha ceases to function, your body can't operate. When you stop breathing, that's it. Your heart and lungs stop working, your cells begin to disintegrate. In Western culture, we strongly identify with our material body. Yet, without prana supporting and directing it, it can't survive for more than a few minutes. And particularly starting in the late 1970s and early 1980s, when what is now termed the cult of the body, the preoccupation with exercise and fitness started emerging, people were really preoccupied with this. Okay, so now we want to turn to the idea of the nadis, okay, in the pranic body. Okay. All right. So prana is life force. Prana rides on the breath, okay? And we strive to make, can I get this full screen? I guess it's as full as it is. Sorry about my muttering here, trying to get this. So we have already focused on a breath called Nadi Shodhan. Okay, now the nadis, again, we're talking a little bit more esoterically. These are not actual biological paths, but the nadis, similar to the meridians in Chinese medicine, are paths through which prana enters and leaves the body. And for our purposes, we really need to be concerned mostly with these three nadis: the central nadi, the sushumna, which follows along the spine, and the ida and the pingali nadi, which are related to the breathing through the left and the right nostril and to the control of the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So when we do practice something like Nadi Shodhana, we are trying to move our prana up the central nadi, up the sushumna, and throughout the body. So it is, of course, moving it into and out of the lungs. But as you know from the three-part breath that we often practice, the organs are permeable. And that is why when you inhale, you can actually fill your whole thoracic cavity, even though the breath is primarily going into the lungs. There is a volume of the air that moves through the organs into the whole of the thoracic cavity. So I want to also now show you an image of, I'm going to reduce the size of me for a minute. Here we go. So let's just take a look at the skeleton. Okay. Enter full screen. Oh, finally got it to work. Okay. So this isn't the whole skeleton, of course, but it is the vertebral column from three different views, the rib cage, which houses the vital organs, and the pelvis, including the continuation of the spinal column into what we call the sacrum, which is several fused vertebrae that make up the back of the pelvis. And here's your tailbone, your coccyx, which if someone pulls the chair out from under you and you fall on your tailbone, it really hurts. But what we do need to think about, as I have been instructing in our three-part yoga breath, is how the pelvis is really a bowl for your digestive organs. The other vital organs are contained in the thoracic cavity, protected by the rib cage. Now, the rib cage can expand and contract greatly with the breathing, and we even have our last two layers of ribs are floating. They are unattached to the bone and then attached to the sternum, or what I call our Tarzan bone, the center of the chest. And so this allows for even more volume of breathing. It also allows in women for their body to expand to be able to carry a child. We think of the spine as being straight, but it's not straight. This is a neutral spine. However, all of these vertebrae are segmented, and in between each vertebrae are these little spongy discs that can allow the vertebrae to move, to twist, and to bend. So when we are doing even our three-part yoga breath, we are really working with the situation of the spine, with the awareness of these different types of the body. In yoga, there is an entire class of practices called pranayama that is devoted to replenishing this life force. Okay. So what I'd like to do at this point is to teach you a yoga pose called Tadasana, the mountain pose. As we practice this, it's a standing pose. Many of you have taken yoga, so you really understand that. Please realize that the spine is the axis around which all of the body energies revolve. So let me stop the share here for just a moment, and let's just kind of get up and do a little bit of stretching, okay, so that we can really feel our body. So shifting your weight to the right and to the left a couple of times. Okay, really feel the firmness of your feet, and then just maybe swing a little bit from side to side. And again, keep that picture of your rib cage, of your pelvis. Now, when I turn my rib cage one direction, I'm turning my pelvis the other direction. So my spine is turning a little bit. And this turning is allowing for the whole of the body to shift. So even twisting a little bit is a little bit of a massage for your organs. If I can roll my shoulders back and down, I'm starting to work my shoulder blades, my scapula. Dropping your chin to the chest now. Just feel your trapezius muscle, which is what controls the movement of the shoulder blades and the head, stretching out. Lift your face to the sky and feel a stretch over the throat, the front of the chest, and then drop your chin towards the chest again. Tick-tock your head from side to side. And then we'll do a couple of slow head circles. 2 in one direction and 2 in the opposite direction. Okay, and now come to stand with your feet directly beneath your hips, and maybe you'll do a little bit of movement through your feet. If you're barefoot or sock foot, you get a little bit more movement. You can also keep your shoes on. It's really okay. And then feel like your feet are firmly planted. Okay, I'm going to actually give you another image to look at. Well, actually, I'll talk you through this before I do the Tadasana meditation. So planting your feet, I'll go ahead and pin myself so you can see in the recording. Okay, so I'm going to turn sideways here and come a little bit back so maybe you can see me a little bit better. So I want my feet to be as wide as my hips. Okay, and then rather than trying to really straighten my spine, which lifts the rib cage and decreases this lumbar spine, I want to think about my pelvis as being parallel to the ceiling and the floor. So you don't want to spill it forward or spill it backwards. Remember that coccyx and allow it to just drop down like it's a tail, holding all of your abdominal organs in your pelvic bowl. Just reach your fingers down. Imagine they have weights, sliding the shoulder blades down the back, and take the back of the skull bones over the tailbone. Remember that nice curve in the back of the neck. You also have that echoed in your lumbar spine. And then take your front ribs slightly in. Now just look at one point that doesn't move. I have a lovely spiral on my curtain that when I do Tadasana, I just take a look at. And focus on your breathing for just a few moments. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and give you something more interesting to look at so that you don't necessarily need to look at me. So notice the inhale and notice the exhale. When you inhale, fill your lungs to their full capacity. And when you exhale, empty the lungs completely. Now stand with a huge firm base beneath your feet. Root your heels. Imagine that the roots grow deeper with each inhale. Visualize your pelvic bowl holding your organs. With each exhale, visualize the bones of the spine lift off of the sacrum, that back of the pelvis. The deeper we drop roots, the deeper the descent into the unconscious, the global fire of the center of the earth. Allow your roots to drop. Drop roots from the waist down and allow gravity to pull you into the earth. But resist being totally sucked down by allowing the upper body to expand and grow upward towards the sun. As we exert pressure down, we reach the bedrock, the center of the earth. The energy of the downward force must reverse because there's nowhere for it to go. And so we grow in the opposite direction. As you exert pressure down, this energy reverses coming up through your body and allows you to grow towards the sky. Connect to the energies of opposites. Maintain this oppositional equilibrium and allow a reconciliation of the opposites, a new energy, a third energy to develop. Moving down, growing up, and allowing this third energy, this energy of equilibrium to envelop you. The more you drop down, the more the spine can elongate. Balance muscular activity with relaxation to achieve a sense of effortlessness. The elongation of the spine creates an immortal body, resisting the temptations of time to move downward and inward. This can manifest sometimes, these temptations of time, as weariness, of low self-esteem, resentment at the body's aging. Elongation can bring a feeling of being alive. As your feet anchor, your spine stretches. Begin to feel the movement of energy like a wave downward to anchor and a wave upward to grow. An unending wave of activity. And then let this activity begin to rest. And allow yourself to move a little bit. And if you'd like, come back to sit. Okay, I'd like to hear your reactions to that standing meditation in Tadasana, the mountain pose.
I like that.
Yeah, good. I figured you would, Tim. I know Tim has a lot of experience with yoga. Did the rest of you feel as though you were able to harness those energies of opposites, rooting down and growing up? Anyone?
That bi-directional thing is really cool. I had never done that before. To feel the direction downward and grounding, and also the upper stretch. That was great.
It turns out now, for those of you who are not familiar with yoga, Tadasana or mountain pose is a pose that we do frequently in a yoga practice. And sometimes it's just regarded as, okay, take a rest, just stand still, but like everything in yoga, if you really pay attention to the nuance of it, you can make it into a very, very powerful thing. Sundarakesha and Miriam, did you have difficulties imagining that idea of rooting down and growing up simultaneously?
No, like it is kind of new for me, and I like how you did it thing. So it is like I like it. I'll do it very often.
I hope you do. Yeah. See, if you can remember these ideas, that when you are sitting, you are connected to the earth, and like we've done meditations where we grow our tailbone down and grow our spine up, just standing. And you can do this for a couple of minutes waiting for the bus, or sometimes sometimes just cooking, that sort of thing. Any of the mundane tasks that you do when you're standing, just allow yourself to really be in your body, to be in the moment. Okay. I'd like to make a suggestion now that I meant to at the beginning of the class and I forgot. If you have some paper and a pencil or a pen, just go ahead and grab it, because I am going to ask you to do reflections, after we do cover some of these ideas. That way, if you don't want to talk about it, you can at least, jot a few words down, and then those reflections can be your post, for it next week. So go ahead and take 30 seconds to grab a pen and a piece of paper or something so that you can go ahead and write things down. So when we are thinking, of the idea of these layered aspects, of the self, it allows us to look at the self in a different kind of a way, instead of just like mind, body, task, rest. We start to feel the concept of these movements of energies. So we basically, through that meditation, we were dealing with the idea of the first two of the koshas, the physical body and the breath body. Okay. So when we are thinking of trying to harness these energies, we also need to consider that as an individual, we are the experiencing self and we are the observing self. And I saved this idea till we had already done several weeks of meditation, because judging from your posts, many of you are able now to cultivate that witnessing sensibility. It's different from detachment, which is not always a healthy psychological condition, but the idea of being non-reactive, of just acknowledging and observing, is really very important in cultivating general awareness, and in cultivating health. So you can think of yourself as always having these two parts that, if they are communicating, you are really very whole. The subtle forces, that influence our behavior, and whether it's physical or mental or emotional, are kind of like three modes of material nature. And these are called the gunas. Guna is a term that means rope. And the gunas, which I had a little bit about in last module, are these material aspects of ourselves and of the world that kind of pull us in different ways. I'm going to share the screen again. And where is my thing of the gunas? Whoops, here we go. This is really one of my, whoops, come on. Going to come up. Here we go. This is one of my favorite because it kind of uses a little bit more of a pop culture, idea. So the three gunas are sattva, rajas, and tamas. Okay. The effects of sattva guna, the mode of goodness, are seen when an atmosphere of peace, serenity, and harmony prevails in our environment and ourselves. Rajas guna, the mode of passion, is felt as insatiable desire for temporary things, striving for more and more and more of them, and perpetual dissatisfaction. Tamas guna, the mode of ignorance, is indicated when there's laziness, depression, intoxication, and insanity. It's important to know that all of these gunas exist in ourselves and in our world. And it's very easy and very tempting, to get drawn into Rajas and Tamas, particularly, if you live in the world, which we all do. But at every individual's core is this sense of understanding that kind of macrocosm of life. And so if we can develop a relationship between this witnessing self and this acting self, the witnessing self can let us know, oh, you're being pretty Rajasic here, individual person, or you are really a little bit too Tamasic. Let's see if we can use our breathing, use a sense of stillness, cultivate an awareness of what is happening in our lives so that we can achieve more balance, more harmony, peace, clarity, light, creativity, openness, and intelligence. So let's now go back to the gunas. Let's see. Let me see, to the koshas. Where is my kosha map here? Here's the kosha map. Okay, so our third one, is the apparatus that's responsible for sensory and motor activities, our day-to-day awareness when we're functioning on automatic. It processes input from our five senses and responds reflexively. It reacts. When we move through life passively, reacting to our environment rather than actively shaping it, our awareness is focused here in the Manomaya kosha. Many people and most animals routinely operate at this level. So again, I'm going to make a reference to the primacy of humans over animals. So I am actively looking for ways to not bias humanity, because we are learning so much from the animal and even the plant kingdom, at this time. But do know that a lot of the material that has been written and passed down does value this, idea of humans over animals. And it can be useful to see that that is why culture has kind of downplayed the sensitivity and the involvement of animals, in the world. The Manomaya kosha means body made of thought processes. Our mental state in the West is usually associated with the brain. But according to yoga and other ways of thinking about these sheaths of the body, the entire nervous system, including the brain, merely mediates the activity of the Manomaya kosha, expressing the commands of the higher energy state through the physical body. The mental body feeds on the sense impressions that we offer it. If we supply this body with a continual stream of things like violent TV shows and video games, for example, it begins to crave increasingly aggressive forms of stimulation. And it may become more agitated and less sensitive to others. However, if we stuff it with too much work or too much play, we may experience a form of mental indigestion, leaving us feeling harried or exhausted. If we can maintain a harmonious environment, interesting professional challenges, fun and supportive relationships, then we can have an ideal diet for the mind. This is one of the reasons that we practice meditation. Sensory withdrawal. It's like an inner tune-up. When we are living in this kosha, we're feeling very strong emotions like anger, fear, excitement. But if we ignore or push down the restrictions, then our energies will come to a breaking point. If we can try to cultivate this witnessing, this observation without judgment and analysis, then we can escape being governed by it. So I'd like to offer you another meditation dealing with the Manamaya kosha, go ahead and find a way to sit, a place to sit that is very comfortable for you. Take a moment to adjust. And then just sit with your body and your breath. Now notice if there is discomfort. Locate that discomfort. Move your breath into that area and see what emotions you experience. Avoid analyze why you're feeling that way. Notice only the feeling. Now imagine that you're feeling a physical sensation. Imagine that you're feeling the sensation of cold, really cold, as though you're sitting on ice, as though you're sitting on the ice of a glacier, and there's a cold wind surrounding you. You have no choice but to stay here in the cold, trying to maintain your breathing. And notice how it makes you feel. Again, don't analyze, just feel the feelings. Now imagine that you're feeling really hot. It's 97 degrees in the shade. Even though you're in the shade, you're still feeling the sweat on your body. You're feeling the heaviness of the air. Feel very, very warm and even hot. And what kind of emotions does this bring up? Now feel cold again. And now feel hot. Feel cold and feel hot. Go back and forth between the two feelings on your own. Now see if you can feel both cold and hot at the same time. And now notice your state of physical feeling in the space that you occupy at this moment. Imagining opposites helps us to understand how emotions merely occur in us. They do not define us. Sometimes we feel very cramped. Sometimes we feel very spacious. Sometimes we are in a state of emotional pain. And sometimes we're in a state of emotional joy. These states don't last. It would be great to always feel that medium, not too hot, not too cold, not too cramped, not too spacious and lost, not too much in pain, not too joyful. Well, usually you want to feel joyful. That's what we work towards. But we need to understand as a witness to our feelings that all of these feelings are fleeting. This does not necessarily mean to cultivate a sense of desperation, which again, that can be kind of a pathological thing when people are experiencing pleasure or joy, they just start to feel anxiety that's going to end. But understanding that even though that pleasure or joy does end and you start feeling a little bit or a lot of sadness, it's going to return again. In yoga, we call this sukha and dukkha. Sukha is a state of spacious equanimity, and dukkha is that sense of compression, that sense where we're just really squeezed inside of a box. And many of us are feeling this so much in this particular time in the world. There is not enough time in the day, or we can't go out and stretch our bodies or our social bodies in the ways that we could in what some people are calling the before times, but everything is going to change. Things aren't necessarily going to change in the way that we want them to, but they will change. So take a few moments and just write about this exercise, if you would. Just a couple of words and how it felt. Okay, does anyone have any comments they'd like to share?
Sure. That first part where you said to focus on something that was uncomfortable, I think it was. I had some pain in my right leg, and I focused on that. And when we got into the temperature differences, and then you said, how do you feel after that? That was entirely gone.
Great. That's
So,
the best feedback.
It was pretty cool. And then that was followed by a very warm feeling in my chest that was very comfortable too. So that was neat.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, that feeling of opposites, it almost sounds like a kid's game, but it's very, very effective. It's one of the chapters, that we use in a yoga nidra practice, which I've led you in a couple of times. And yoga nidra is made up of different chapters. So every time you practice it, you may not do the same ones all the time. And I remember the first time I did the opposites, it made me mad, because the teacher led us through the cold and the hot. And I'm one of those people that hates being cold. I just hate it. Literally, when it goes below 70 degrees, I'm kind of shivering. I mean, obviously I live in Chicago, so I have to deal with it. But I found myself so resentful, in feeling that cold. And then when I got to the hot, I'm the opposite in hot. I lived in Houston for, a decade, Houston, Texas, which is very, very hot, and traveled to Jamaica and Mexico and things in July, when I loved it. So I think in a former life, if there is such a thing, I lived in the tropics. But that going back and forth really does provide sensory relief. And that's wonderful, Tim, that it actually gave you release from pain. So cool. All right. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay, I'm going to go back to walking us through the koshas then. All right, where are my koshas? Here we go. Okay, let's do this full screen. It's a little bit easier to see. Oops, that's the wrong one. Stop the share screen. Here, this is the one I want. Share. It's still not going. Okay, hang on, everybody. Sorry. Kosha map. Here we go. kosha map. And now we'll view this full screen. Okay, so the Vijnana Maya kosha, the next one, is the wisdom body, the insight or the aha enlightenment. In yoga nidra and in meditation, this is dealt with through visualization. Allowing the self to observe the self, listening, watching, and feeling come from a deep inner state with this detached observation. An activated fourth sheet is what they say distinguishes human beings from animals. We don't really have evidence because we don't talk to them, that animals can feel this sense of detached observation, and their behavior indicates that for the most part, most animals are really more reactive. And again, in defensive animals, we can just even look at like cats and dogs. I mean, dogs, of course, do live a much more reactive way of behavior, but cats do not, so is that exclusive to their species? Who knows, but we do feel like we can be aware of this and talk about it as human beings. Humans have the ability to direct their own lives free from the promptings of instinct and to make what we call moral choices. The sages consider the development of healthy Vijnanamaya kosha so important that they place the exercises for it at the very beginning of the yoga system. So in the yoga system, there are not only the poses, the asanas, and the breath work, the pranayama and the meditation, the dhyana, but there are these behavioral guidelines. Don't harm people, don't lie, steal, don't overindulge, or don't desire more than you actually need. Try to be content, pure, self-disciplined, studious, and devoted. This is the path of the intellect. Contemplate spiritual truths deeply and try to incorporate them in the core of your personality. Then your spiritual understanding becomes the food with which you nourish your intellect. The Ananda Maya kosha is the bliss body. That is that total absorption into a blissful state. The most subtle body. Generally, only saints, sages, and genuine mystics have done the inner work necessary to make this a living part of their daily experience. And most people are hardly even aware that this level of consciousness exists within themselves. Hopefully, with your meditative exercises, you get little glimpses of this. And that is one of the big reasons that we meditate, is because we can briefly experience that sense of wholeness. Many individuals who have had near-death experiences have reported experiencing a brilliant white light radiating all-embracing wisdom and unconditional love. This is the experience of the Anandamaya kosha. The purification of mind so that you can have this experience throughout life, not just for a fleeting moment at death, is the journey of saints and mystics. Feeling oneself completely embraced in the practice. It's very difficult to have this feeling constantly. Okay, and the Jivatman, this last sheet, is the personal self, the one that envelops us. And again, this is a Sanskrit word meaning the personal self. The Paramatman is this observational self. And in this illustration, it is an all-encompassing mandala that kind of folds all of the sheaths into itself, but as a mandala is a radiating design, it illustrates the way that if we can recognize all of these sheaths, we can really feel that we are pretty consistently part of the universe. And that's really what we desire, is to have that sense of being part of the universe. Right? instead of feeling separate, because these negative feelings that we have, of loneliness, of anxiety, of jealousy, of desire, of physical pain, of emotional pain are things that separate us from that sense of joy. So what I'd like to do next is to revisit Tadasana. Okay. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will allow you to feel that sense of rootedness. And then I want to guide you through a meditation that takes you through the koshas. Okay. So let's come and stand once again. And it's always a good idea to stretch about every 20 minutes. Really recommend this. And it's this whole concept of stretching the body, of moving the joints, is under-recognized, I think, in our culture. Because if we can keep not only the esoteric idea of the prana moving through our body, but all of the fluids that are in the body need to move and need to circulate. So let's just reach up. And then bending your knees, just kind of let yourself drop down. Now get that picture of your spine again. Draw your tailbone down like it's a really long kangaroo tail. And notice that from the center of the back, your vertebrae are starting to separate. And then from the center of the back, the top vertebrae, the thoracic spine, the cervical spine, are also given more space. If you move in this direction, you can get even more space. And then slowly, let's come up. Okay, and let's now stand in Tadasana. I'm going to get a little bit more specific and a little bit more anatomical here, because I want to talk to you a little bit about the, I'm going to go ahead and pin. Oh, I see. Let's just go full screen. Speaker. I don't know why I'm not there. Sorry about this, you guys. I'm doing this for the recording people. Okay, here we go. All right. We know that we can root our feet. Okay. Having the feet just beneath the hips. And let those feet root down into the earth. Again, get that sensation that you are connected to the earth. And then begin to grow your spine out of your pelvis. Again, your pelvis is parallel to the ceiling and the floor. And slide the shoulder blades down the spine. Back of the skull bones over the tailbone. Fingers are like weights pulling your fingers down towards the outer ankles. Maybe you pull your front ribs slightly in and you get a little bit more opening in the low back. Visualize those curves in the spine and gaze at one point. Now standing, it can be difficult to close the eyes because we do rely on our sight to balance. So if you just softly gaze at one point, you can relax your eyes and breathe. Now at the base of the rib cage is a big muscle called the diaphragm that moves up and down each time you breathe. And because of, on the inhale, the downward movement of the diaphragm, we do experience sometimes a little bit more expansiveness in our abdominal area. And when we move up, when the diaphragm moves up to expel the lungs, sometimes we can pull the navel in. So let's just do some diaphragmatic breathing. When you inhale, really allow the whole of the thoracic cavity to fill. Feel a little bit more expansiveness in your belly and your hips. And when you exhale, pull the diaphragm up and you'll kind of make your belly a little concave. Now I'd like you to be aware of what we call your pelvic floor muscles. So the pelvis has a network of muscles on the very bottom in that kind of hole in the pelvis. And that's what really keeps everything in. We don't think about our pelvic floor muscles until we have to urinate and we can't get to a bathroom in time. And then we just automatically contract our pelvic floor muscles. So feel as though you gently contract those pelvic floor muscles and then release. And then on the exhale, contract your pelvic floor muscles and feel like you're kind of pulling them up into the body as the diaphragm reaches up. And on the inhale, relax. Exhale, contract the pelvic floor muscles, let the diaphragm lift. And then relax. Okay, so there's a specific pranayama that I would like to teach you called Agnisara, which not only has the benefit of working your diaphragm and giving you a really complete breath, but it develops your core muscles and it really keeps your digestive organs fit. Okay, so if you are unused to thinking about your internal body, don't worry too much about it because it will come with practice and it's really not that complicated. So what we want to do is just to bend your knees, have your feet just underneath your knees and kind of lean forward. Now, when you exhale, pull your belly in so that you really fill the low back. And when you inhale, let it release. Exhale, the belly contracts. And inhale, release. This is also a good thing to do if you have some lower back issues. Exhale, belly relax. Inhale, release. And then just stand. Take note. So again, try not to try too hard. Now with Agnisara, we engage not only the diaphragm, which is what's happening when your belly is moving in, but the pelvic floor muscles. So we'll try to do like a 3-part breath. So just relax. Take a few deep breaths. And when you exhale, imagine you're moving your pelvic floor muscles, you're pulling your diaphragm up, your belly is going to come in. And inhale, just relax. We'll do 5 rounds of this. Exhale, gently contract your pelvic floor muscles. Imagine your diaphragm's going up into your rib cage. And inhale, relax. Exhale, pelvic floor, diaphragm, low abdominal muscles. Inhale, relax. 2 more rounds on your own, nice and slow. And then just coming off, just go ahead and twist from side to side, move a little bit. Okay, so go back to the gallery view so I can see you all. Or I can see your names anyway. Okay. All right. Any reactions to that? Well, go ahead and write down your reactions. Okay. So, and if, unpleasant reactions are okay too. Teaching is as experimental as taking a class. Okay, I'd like to lead you through one more meditation. Okay, and hopefully this will move you through all of the koshas. So find a place to sit, or you can lie down if you'd like for this last meditation, and allow yourself to become comfortable. I'm going to share the screen here and again, get you something beautiful to look at. Not that. Here we go. All right, sit comfortably. Have your head, neck, and trunk in a straight line. So if you're lying, be lying on your back. Be without strain. Have a feeling of relaxed alertness. Close your eyes, withdrawing your awareness from the sights and sounds around you. Bring your full attention to your physical body. Be aware of your head and shoulders, chest and waist, back and abdomen, arms and legs. This is your Annamaya Kosha. Bring now your full attention to the point between your nostrils and feel yourself breathe. Gradually, your breath will flow more slowly, smoothly, and quietly. Be aware of the energy pulsing through your body. This energy is making your heart beat, your lungs expand and contract, the blood course through your veins, and your stomach gurgle. The force orchestrating this movement, not your physical body itself, is your pranamaya kosha, your breath body. Now shift your awareness into your brain. Pay attention to the part of your awareness that's regulating your sensory input and motor output. This is the part of you that notices your nose is itching and orders your hand to scratch it. It notes that you are uncomfortable sitting in one position for so long and wants you to move your legs. It generates the reflexive mental chatter that continually fires through your mind. This is your Manomaya Kosha. Now lift your awareness higher inside your skull. Sense the part of your awareness that consciously made the decision to participate in this exercise, and right now is commanding you to sit still and complete it. This part of your awareness recognizes the value of expanding your self-awareness. This is what compels you to get up early in the morning, even though lazing in bed might be more pleasant. This is your Vijnanamaya Kosha, sorry. Center your awareness now in your heart. Relax deeply. Keep breathing smoothly and evenly. Now take as much time as you need to allow yourself to settle into a state of complete tranquility. Buried deep in that inner peace is a sense of purest happiness. This is not emotional euphoria, though as you leave this state, it may pour out of you as a sense of great joy and gratitude. It is a space of perfect contentment, perfect attunement, and abiding stillness. In this state, there is no sense of lack or fear or desire. This is your Anandamaya Kosha. Now simply be aware of your own awareness. The pure consciousness that is having this experience lies beyond this experience. It is your true inner self, your immortal being. Rest in your own being for some time. return your attention to your breath. Breathe slowly, smoothly, and evenly. Notice the space around you. Be aware of the quietness of that space. Gently begin to move. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, that concludes our meditations for today. I encourage you to take a few notes about how that felt, and again, that's your post for this week. Next week, we'll return to the concrete and we'll spend the time creating a mandala. So I have on our D2L module for this week, I have included a list of supplies that you should bring. Some kind of paper, copy paper can work. If you have drawing paper, that's great. Brown craft paper, probably some plain paper would be the best. And a series of circle templates, like maybe the top of a pill or a bottle of aspirin, maybe maybe a glass. Carry-out lids are always good, carry-out container lids, a straight edge, some kind of a ruler, pencils, pens, crayons, markers, whatever you feel like you would like to use to draw with. And at the beginning of the class, I'll talk a little bit about mandalas, which are meditation devices. The pictures that I've been showing you during our meditations are mandalas. Some of them are created by Carl Jung. Some of them are Tibetan mandalas. Some of them are just beautiful mandalas that people I know have created. You don't need to know how to draw at all to make a mandala. You just need to know how to trace circles. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about what mandalas are and a little bit of the history, and then we'll spend the greater part of the class making one together. A few of you have already created a mandala and posted it to the discussion board. And that's great. If you want that to be your only mandala, that's fine. But mandala practice is a wonderful active meditation that I practice really frequently. I mean, there were some times during this pause, that I was making like 3 mandalas a week, so it can be very relaxing and a lot of fun. So consult that list.
I have a question. Like, I cannot able to, write open mandalas. It's locked from my side. I can see 5 people have posted, but I cannot, open it.
Okay, Miriam, while we're online, let me just check and see that, because that should be a mistake, because we should be able to open it.
I thought it's just me, or like you're gonna, open
No,
it.
I don't really know. Let's see. Where are we here? Pranic breath. Let's go to the discussions. We're going to find this right now. Mandala Labyrinth. Available here. Edit topic. Okay, restrictions. Has a start date. It doesn't have an end date. Let me check in the grades. D2L sometimes does this to me.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I do want it to be open. Enter grade. Oh no, wait a second. Sorry, go back. Labyrinth, add it. Restrictions here. No, it's open.
But I'm still on D12 and I cannot, open it. It's not letting me in. I don't know.
Okay, so you're going to need to contact D2L then on the course homepage. Is it on course homepage or on the opening page for D2L?
Yes, same thing for
Yes.
me. It's not open for me.
It's not opening for you?
Yes.
Huh. That's very weird. Let me try that one more time and see if there's something I can do, because it sounds like I'm going to need
The
to.
access restriction before availability start is something like that.
Okay. It's available in October. Oh, because it says it's available on October 11th, because it's not October 11th now. That's weird. But why does it say that? Okay, a start date. Let's do this, Tuesday. Okay. Try it again now. See if you can open it.
I refreshed my page, but it's still no.
You
It's
still can't open
available.
it?
It's something available October 5. It's something date is today available. Date is
Yeah, I
today.
still cannot.
Yeah.
Still
The
is
date
locked.
is changed. It's like October 11 before, now it's like October 5 available time.
Okay, let me try it one more time.
It-
Is it the 4th or the
date is
5th today? Today is the 4th,
it's
right?
Is it?
I think it's 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna try this one more time and see, edit topic. Restrictions. Start date. I don't even have a start date on it now. So it should be open completely. Open topic, yeah. And try to refresh it and see.
Hold on one second. I'm going to refresh my page.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna check on student view.
No.
Sorry for having to do these things, you guys on,
No,
but it's,
still not. I cannot still open it. No.
okay, so
Yeah,
I'm in
I-
student view now
Okay.
and it's still not there.
You
All
have
right.
to click what is stillness, then you can see the.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not there. Oh, Mandala Labyrinth, available on October, 9:23 PM, that's why. But it should not be that. Okay, so let me go back to here. Come back. Yeah, because it's not 9:23 PM. Well, I mean, you're not supposed to be, we're gonna be doing it next week, to tell you the truth. So you'll be a little bit ahead of the time. Here we go. Now, edit topic. Restrictions. Has start date. All right, now it should be open. Let's try it as a student.
Okay, it works.
There it is. Okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mario. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's worked for me. No.
Okay, well, I mean, if you want to make one in advance, that's fine, but that's what the class is going to be next week. And I'm going to be showing you a little bit of the history of Mandala.
All right.
So,
We'll do next
all
week.
right. All right, thank you so much,
So
everyone.
much.
Yeah, now it's worked for me. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, great, mystery solved, wonderful. Thank you for your help.
Thanks.
All right, and I'll see you, some of you next week. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Okay.